Alright, today we're going to start to work on the end cap, which is a multi-step process for the X-Acto knife. So if we're looking at the print here, if we come down, we can see the dimensions of the cap, and roughly the cap ends up being 0.90 from end to end, and we can see we have some hidden lines and holes throughout this. Right? We're going to have a through hole that goes through this cap. That is a letter B bit. We are also going to have a letter I bit, which is the specific drill bit for a 5/16 24 thread. Now, in order to start this process, if we look up, we've got our fixture here, which is 3 different sets. And if we look here, we've got our first process is going to start off with a center drill bit. And we're going to center drill up to the center of the taper. We're going to through drill the entire cap with a B bit, and then we are going to drill a I bit from, we're going to move this nut because this nut is adjustable, from the start of a full hole, okay, to the stop. We'll adjust it to 5/8 of an inch. Then we are going to put a tapered tap into this cap, and we are going to tap it from the first full thread down 5/8. So we again will move this stop. After that's complete, we'll blow it out and then finish off with a bottoming tap. So we'll have a complete thread all the way into the cap until it bottoms out 5/8 of an inch in. So the next stage, we will show you how to do this, but before we go, we can kind of see the cap here. And the cap features, if we look, it will compress the blade properly. If not made properly, it will not compress the blade. Now notice on the first part of this cap, we see a 1/4 inch of knurl. So we're going to start by cutting a piece 1.5 inches, and we'll finish it off later. We'll cut it to length. And we're going to file the oxidation off and put a knurl on. So when we start this process, it will already be filed and knurled, and then we're going to start on the drilling process with our drill bit procedure. Alright, so we're going to see right here we've got the end of the knurl that we're going to complete. We're going to do the first 1/4 inch. We've got this lightly filed. We're going to add some oil here, running this at slow speed. And I'll take care of this operation, but I just want to show you what is going on. So both knurl wheels now are going to press together and create a nice knurled finish on the first 1/4 inch. We're moving it back and forth. It's under pressure. So I'll take care of this process for you just because it's kind of hit or miss. And we can see that we've got a nice knurled textured pattern. So the next step is we are going to suck this up right there, leaving the knurl exposed, and we're going to start our process of center drill, B bit through, I bit, taper tap, and bottoming tap. Alright, so the first step we are going to do is take our center drilling bit, which this is going to allow us to drill a hole straight into the piece, not off center. So we always want to start with a center drill bit, and we're going to drill about halfway up the curve of the center drill bit. So we're going to mount that in, tighten our chuck here, and lock our tailstock. They're close. We're going to drive that in. So center drilling right now, starting, and we're going to bring that in just to the curve. Alright, about halfway. Second step is we are going to switch this to the B bit. We're going to use a little cutting fluid. You can use a small bottle, or we have an automated coolant feed, which I'm not going to turn on now because it'll spray the camera. I'm just going to do a little at a time. Now whenever we're drilling through something, we want to make sure that when we drill, we come back and forth, because the chips will build up in aluminum and melt to the end of the tip, clog, and then possibly wreck the part or snap the bit. So we're going to drill in here just a little bit and back out. A little cutting fluid. we're going to drill this all the way through. Plunge it back. Sometimes you can see the chips build up in the flutes. You can pop those off. A little cutting fluid. At some point it's going to drill all the way through. Back it out. It's going to drill about 3/8 to a 1/2 inch each shot. And cutting fluid helps keep the bit cool, prevents the chips from melting to the end of the tip. And you can see we're all the way through now. You can actually see the bit inside the chuck. So now, the next step is, that was a letter B bit. That is going to compress on the area that's 0.265 on the end of your X-Acto. So now we're going to switch to the I bit. And for the I bit, we're going to set a stop that is 5/8 from the start of the flute. So we're going to go 5/8 from the start where we get a full-size drill. We're just going to slide this bolt, and that's all we're going to cut. So I'm going to lock that in, double check my measurement, 5/8, and I'm going to tighten that up, and I'm going to drill right to that nut stop. That's the letter I. The letter I is the specific bit when we use our Amtech chart. Okay, on our Amtech chart for a 5/16 24 thread. So going in, I'm going to plunge this guy in. You can use some cutting fluid. I'll do a little cutting fluid there. And we're going to go right to the, oops, looks like a nut loose. We're going to go right to the stop here. And we'll double check our distance here. Measure the stop. Perfect, 5/8. And the next step is we're going to hand tap it. We're going to use the drill chuck again in the tailstock. And this time we are going to measure off from where the first full thread starts, 5/8 back. So again, we're going to hit this stop. We're going to measure where the first full thread starts. It's about 4 threads back to the end. I'm going to lock this into my chuck here. Grab only the round area. And this time we're going to have to unlock the tailstock so that we can let it float in. So basically I'm going to rotate this by hand, and this is going to get pulled in. So this time let's use a little thicker oil. Let's use a little transmission fluid, is fine right here. And I'm going to put this in neutral. And we can see it starts to draw it in. We're going to go back and forth, and it's going to get pretty tight towards the end. So we're going about a turn and a half, back it up. You can see the tap is drawing in perfectly straight. That's the goal here. Draw that tap in, and at times, sometimes these threads will want to bind towards the end, especially on the bottoming tap, which we're going to use next. So I'm going to go all the way up to my stop here. You can see we're closing in, getting close. Oh, see how it starts to spin? Sometimes we have to retighten the chuck, hold that tap a little tighter, and then we'll just go a little at a time. Okay. Okay, and that's about all we got. So we're going to black this out, and we're going to add a little air to it. So just spin the chuck by hand. You can see all the chips built up, and it's going to be kind of dirty in there. Now we're going to take a little bit of air here. Blow that thread out. And we're going to finish it up with the bottoming tap as far as we can make it go. And then the cap will essentially be done. we'll test fit it onto your X-Acto, and then from there we'll cut to length. So after you finish this process, we'll give it a test fit. So here's a bottoming tap, which will have a full thread right to the end. So we're going to go until this can go no more, and it's going to draw really nice and easy for the first few threads. Again, this is going to go in right to the 5/8 mark, but we're going to go till we get some tension. And we got no more, maybe a little more tightness here on the chuck. And you can only go so far, otherwise you will snap the tap. So now that gave an extra at least 3 to 4 threads at the bottom. So we will take this out now, wind it out. The tailstock moves back because it's floating, and blow it out. Remove it from the chuck, and we're going to thread this onto the X-Acto knurl side first, and then later on we will determine a final length. We will cut to that final length, face it, and then we will add our X-Acto blade.